So many of you guys have picked up the vintage Super Mario Bros. 3 Son Goku merchandise from the Geekdom 101 store and loved it. But if you haven't, or you just want more, it is back up right now in the Geekdom 101 store. You can get it in so many different colors and variations, depending on whatever suits your mood. Ships anywhere in the country. Pick yours up today because these are some of my favorite pieces ever released. I will leave a direct link in the description. So for a few days now, there's been a lot of talk about Bardock's wish from Dragon Ball Super Manga Chapter 83. I mean, that's been like probably the most talked about thing from that chapter. I did drop my review on that chapter a few days ago. I was not a big fan of the chapter, and if you disagree, that's okay. I mean, it's your opinion, but there were things and decisions made in this chapter that I thought were a little confusing and a bit weird, but we may have some enlightenment as far as one of the things that was talked about, which is, like I said, Bardock's wish in this chapter. Now, this is from Herms, who is an N1 certified Japanese interpreter. That pretty much means, for those who don't know, when you're N1 certified, that means that you speak the language of Japanese as well as pretty much anybody who's not from Japan. So it's the highest possible degree of interpreter skill that you could possibly have. And I guess there was some wording about what the wish was that was made by Bardock with regards to Goku and Raditz. Now, there were other things about the chapter people were talking about, like the whole Elec thing about him being the one to tell Bardock, you know, the fate of Planet Vegeta without actually telling him, you know, things like that. But if we get on over to Twitter, I want to go ahead and go over this because this could have some implications as far as the future of Dragon Ball goes, but also it could clarify some things that we were wondering about prior to what Herm said. So what he says is the following. He wrote, "It seems that this still needs saying. The Japanese wording for Bardock's wish basically means, I wish my sons grow up to be strong men, and not, I wish that nothing bad will ever happen to my sons at any point in their whole entire lives ever." Which, that's true. I mean, it's essentially, the wish was never that he wants his kids to have a pain-free life, but that he wants them to thrive. But I guess the definition based on the original Japanese, and you have to understand, when it comes to translating Japanese, there's always different interpretations, there's always different translations. It's not an easy language to translate for, which is why being N1 certified is such a big deal, because it's really a big deal to understand that language so well. So he says that essentially it's more to do with he wants him to grow up to be strong, which did happen. And I know people are going to make their jokes, but Geekdom Raditz wasn't that strong. Yes, he was. Yes, he was the first villain of the Z portion of the story. Yes, he was somebody from way, way, way back. And no, he can't compete with anybody pretty much of the current Dragon Ball era. But that doesn't matter. When in relation to the entire universe, forget about just the small group of really strong characters we have now, like the Z fighters, like your villains. Forget about them, or even the gods. When it comes to the mortals of the entire universe, or even just the planet Earth, just a small population of Earth, which is not that small, there's millions upon billions of people in the universe who don't even know how to properly use ki. Right? So for Raditz, he's already ahead of the curve when it comes to most regular mortals. It's only a few people that know how to use ki in the story of Dragon Ball. So yes, he did grow up to become strong, but remember, Bardock wished for them to grow up and be strong and to live, you know, thriving lives or whatever the case is. But that's to grow up. When Goku and Raditz first met, which led to Goku and Piccolo teaming up to kill Raditz. Raditz was, you know, at that point, he was already grown up. Same thing with Goku. Goku had a son. Raditz and Goku were both grown up. So Bardock's wish did come true, but that, of course, leads me to another sort of situation, and that is, did the dragon actually protect them throughout their lives? That would mean that all the decisions that were made in Dragon Ball, from the moment Bardock made that wish, all the way until Raditz was killed by Goku and Piccolo, up until that point, the dragon was so powerful that he could actually change the trajectory of their lives. that could be the case. I'll talk more about that in the video I have coming out with Mr. Senpai previewing the next chapter, because he was the one that brought this up to me, and he'll talk more about it then. But it is something to think about. Now, Herms goes on to say, a lot of people seem to be taking Viz's use of thriving to mean permanent protection from all badness, or other things that go beyond the original implication, which again pretty much says, I wish they grow up fine. Right. And he did wish that. And also, let's not forget that the wish that was made by Monaito was done off screen, so that wish may not have been what actually, happened. That may not have been what Bardock wanted. You know what I mean? Again, we're going to find out more about that in the upcoming chapters. Or we might. I mean, I can't even guarantee that. So Herms goes on to say, on the other hand, I want to say that even thrive doesn't have such far-reaching implications in English that it's a good fit for grow up well. On the other hand, it's a wish, so Viz probably should have been more careful with the wording to avoid potential misunderstandings. And again, I consider Herms to be a much more accurate translator than the people that work at Viz. Nothing against them. It's not a personal thing, but Herms has been doing this for like 25 years. You know what I'm saying? This dude has been speaking Japanese for a long time. There's people that work at Viz that aren't even 25 years old. You know what I'm saying? And so I tend to trust somebody who has more experience, who actually lived in Japan. And I'm not saying that the Viz guys didn't, but Herms has proven himself over and over again to have knowledge of this. Now he goes on to say, thanks to Cypher for the original and for basically giving the exact same explanation at least twice already. Yeah, Cypher did give that explanation. He goes on to say, the other side issue is that when we only get Bardock's hypothetical, here's what I'd wish for if I made a wish, and it's not revealed precisely what ultimately goes down between Monaito and the dragon, which what I was talking about, that the wish that was made, we only saw what Bardock wished for. Monaito may have asked for that, and it's implied in the next few panels that he did ask for it, or at least that Bardock had the right idea to make wishes about hope, but we didn't actually see the words come out of his mouth. So that does, leave it up for interpretation as far as what really happened here. Did Bardock's wish actually come to fruition? And if so, does that mean that there was a protective layer around Goku and Raditz to never die until they met? Because that's when they met. Had Raditz and Goku never met, Raditz would have never died. Goku would have never even known he was an alien. You know what I mean? It would have been very unlikely of that to have ever taken place. So, yes, it looks like that's a possibility, and it is something to kind of wrap your brain around, because if that's the case, then this dragon's power goes far and away beyond that of even the Earth or Namekian balls. Not super balls, but definitely above those two, because if you remember, the dragon can't really influence things out of his power. So that means that, or the creator's power, in which case this would be Monaito. So is Monaito really that powerful as far as his magic abilities go? There's a lot of questions here that I feel either will be answered later on, or to be honest, they probably won't be answered, because we have so many unanswered questions from Dragon Ball Super that still have not been answered. Like, we don't even know how Beerus became a god of destruction. We don't even know who actually killed Jiren's parents. It never was actually revealed. There's a lot of things in Dragon Ball that have yet to be answered. What happened to the other 6 universes? Why does Zeno delete them? There's so many questions. So this could end up being one that is explained later on, or it could end up being one that gets tossed aside by Dragon Ball Super's creators as not being important, even though I think it's very important, because this could change. It could be a huge change to Dragon Ball's backstory, and honestly, it kind of takes away from the story if this whole time the dragon manipulated all these people: Bulma to meet Goku, Goku to fight Piccolo and train with the people he trained with, Raditz to go off with Vegeta and Nappa until it was time for him to go to Earth. All this stuff the dragon manipulated, it's kind of a hard pill to swallow, you know what I mean? So I'm not buying that one fully, but that could be what happened here. Either way, the Thrive thing is meant to be more like to be stronger, and that did happen. Goku and Raditz at the point of even the beginning of Z were very strong, way stronger than most mortals in the entire universe. So it is what it is. With that being said, let me know what you think in the comments. More on this with Mr. Senpai coming up this week here on the Geekdom 101 channel. I'll talk to y'all soon.